morning, ladies and gentlemen. Today, what we are going to be looking at is we're continuing our work on volume. We are going to be looking specifically at volumes of a cone to start out with. So let's jump right into it. Um, so here are a few examples of cones. You've seen them before. Really nothing that crazy. Um, Let me write out get this thing going. Oh, there we go. Screen sketch should be coming up shortly. But maybe not. We'll give it a second shot. Screen sketch. Okay, it's thinking about it. There we go. So, for a cone, the formula for volume of a cone is equal to 1/3 times pi r squared h. So you can see it's very, very similar to a cylinder, right? Because this portion right here, if you don't remember, this was the volume of a cylinder. Essentially, we're just taking that area and multiplying it by 1/3 or dividing it by 3. So let's look at an example here. In fact, let's look at number 2 since we're right next to it. So remember the radius, right? We need to find the radius. The radius is the distance from the center to the circle's edge. Whoa, that is not my best line. I'm going to erase that and pretend like that didn't happen. Boom, right out here is 10. This is our radius r. Now, the height, right? We don't want to think about the height as being always the up and down or the vertical change because it might not be. You want to think about what is, for the height of a cone, the distance from the circular bottom that we have here. So the distance from this circular bottom, or top in this case, or the base, to the point. And that here is illustrated with this 20. So we got this lovely 20 here. So this is our h. So we go to figure this out. We get 1/3 pi, our r value, which is 10 squared, times our height, which is 20. And again, this multiplication between all of these 20. So when we go to continue working with this, right, we can plug all of this into the calculator. This is going to be 1/3. I'm actually going to do this by hand so you guys can see the steps. 1/3 times 10 squared, which is 100, times 20. So 100 times 20, we're essentially, this is going to be 2, and then we add the 0. So it's 2,000 times 1/3 times pi. Now, in theory, we could go in directly into our calculator and type in, if for those of you who don't have one of the nicer calculators, you can do 1/3 times 3.14 times 2,000. 1/3, I'm going to do that on my calculator now, times 3.14 times, and that is, you're going to have to trust me on this because you can't see it, 2,266.7. And now we look at our units. Our units are feet. And just like last week, but instead of, if we're talking volume, it's going to be cubed, feet cubed, or cubic feet. So this helps us in breaking down the steps of, one, what is the formula, and what are we looking for to plug into the formula. We're actually going to look at another example of this. We're going to look at number 4. Let me pull up number 4 here. Now you get a weird angle at the top of my head. That's all right. Boom. Here we go. So with number 4, again, same formula. Notice it is a cone. Volume of a cone is equal to 1/3 pi r squared h. All right. So we need to figure out r and h because the 1/3 and the pi are always going to be there. Now you'll notice in this example that they gave us this distance from one side of the circle to the other side of the circle. If they give you the diameter, right, because remember that's what the diameter is, You need to take the diameter. Oh, let me get the better pen. The radius is going to be equal to the diameter, 2 divided by 2. It's always going to be divided by 2 because this is our radius. So we split that in 2, so our radius is going to be 1 times 1 squared. And now our height, I know this seems confusing because we're used to thinking, well, Mr. Critical, the height is from down here to up here because um that's how high our radius like our cone is. That's not necessarily the case. For radius, right? Or for height, remember it's the distance from the circular base to the tip of the cone. Look for that tip of the cone. That is going to be our secret here. Boom. Our height is going to be 2, right? That's our height. Coincidentally, it's the same as that diameter. So we get 1/3 times 3.14 times 1 times 2. So this becomes 2 times 1/3 times 3.14. And this we can plug into our calculator. 2 times 3.14. And we get 2.09. And again, we're looking at feet cubed. So again, we went through, we figured out how do we determine the height, how do we determine the radius, how do we substitute it into our equation, and then finally, well, how do we um, how do we simplify it? So I hope you guys found that helpful. That's really all cones. We're going to be looking at some more volume in the next video as well. So please, please, please make sure you check out that next video before you try to show what you know. See you guys soon.